Okay, this is the meeting of the Street Artists Committee, May 13, 2015. We're here at 25 Van Ness, Suite 70, San Francisco.
Commissioner Sheila. Here. Commissioner Sklar. Here. Commissioner Shelby is not here yet. Commissioner Chu.
Here.
We have points.
The meeting is called to order. And our first item on the agenda today is a discussion of the evaluation that we had told you about is going to be done, in which many of you have participated in. I'm going to ask Deputy Director Rebecca Krell to introduce the presentation.
Great, thanks Commissioner Sklar. So, hello everyone, good afternoon. It's really great to see everybody come out for the meeting. We really appreciate you taking your time to be here, so thank you for that. And I will keep it brief and turn it over to Ms. Faust. I just wanted to talk a little bit about her. So she is about to graduate from UC Berkeley with her master's in public policy. And this project is it's an advanced policy analysis, basically her master's thesis for us in this program. She's a California native. She's worked with YBCA previously, and she focuses on equity issues in her policy work. So I think we're really fortunate to have her working for us on this project. She's done a great job, and I'm really excited to hear feedback from the public and from commissioners. So she's going to give a brief presentation, and then we'll have questions from commissioners, and then turn it over to you all for public comment. And we do have her full report, which is a more in-depth, comprehensive version of the presentation, and there are hard copies of that in the back.
In the back.
For folks also. So thank you, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ms. Faust.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kate Faust, and as Deputy Director of Health, I've been working with the Arts Commission to evaluate the Street Artist Program. So this evaluation is the first step in aligning the Street Artist Program with the Commission's strategic plan for the future of the agency. What this report does is provide a picture of how the program outcomes are serving the agency's mandate to promote the employment of artists and those skilled in crafts, the agency's vision to make high quality art accessible to everyone, and the agency's goals to invest in a vibrant art community, enliven the urban environment, and build public awareness of the value of the arts. So in addition to providing this picture, it also provides outlines a number of ways that the program can improve outcomes in each of these areas. So the evaluation was informed by an in-depth review of program documents, so audits, civil grand jury reports, budgets, and everything in between, as well as the feedback of a broad range of program stakeholders. So participants provided feedback on a survey and also one-on-one interviews. Both survey and interviews were available in English, Spanish, and Mandarin, depending on participants' preference. There are also one-on-one interviews conducted with commissioners, screening panelists, and program staff. So thank you to everyone that participated in this process. So today we're going to discuss some key lessons learned and some of the key recommendations to improve the program outcomes. It's not as detailed, I guess, as the report is. There's much more detail in the report. So I invite everyone to read it as soon as they're able to. So first, let's talk about the program's strengths, what's working really well. So the Street Artist Program is a singular and unique program in the city, and program stakeholders identified several program components that really set it apart from other art markets, municipal vendor programs, and the gallery systems. So one of these is the low barriers to entry, and by that I mean that the program fees are relatively affordable, and that there's a minimally bureaucratic process to obtain a license. Another key difference is that participants are given access to very desirable selling locations throughout the city. So these are locations that are in commercial areas that have high pedestrian traffic. And that particular component really sets this program apart from other municipal vendor programs. So another thing that's working really well is that participants are able to build professional networks through the art markets. Participants learn about new opportunities to show their work, better ways to source materials, improved methods to execute their craft. The art markets in particular have become training grounds for emerging professional artists, where they can learn how to build their brand, how to market and display their work, how to price their work, and how to identify consumer audiences. So finally, with an annual investment of $696, less if you are participating between 1 and 3 quarters of the year, the majority of program participants reported earning $10,000 a year or more. So we know that $10,000 a year is not a living wage, especially in this city, but taking within the context of the broader Bay Area arts ecosystem, $10,000 is substantial. You can go to the next one. And can you just pop it over to the small one? So preliminary data that was released by the Compensation Foundation's survey of Bay Area visual artists has reported that the average Bay Area visual artist makes around $4,327 a year. So participants in this program are making more than twice that. So these self-reported figures really illustrate that there's a potential for this program to be a significant source of income. And this is in spite of what many participants describe as dwindling sales at the market. So what this really is an opportunity that the agency has to strategically market and promote this program to increase artist sales. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So in addition to program strengths, there are some issues. The majority of the issues stem from the restrictive language of the program ordinance. So the ordinance really details how every program process needs to work. Marketing, licensing, budgeting, monitoring, etc. So the programmatic stagnation that comes from that leads to inefficiencies and ineffective mechanisms throughout the program. These process issues have compounded and manifested in several ways. One is in the inconsistency of the quality of work that you see through the program. So in addition to the broad array of really high quality work that can be found in the program, there's also been an influx of store-bought goods and merchandise that violates various copyright laws. Another issue is that the monitoring and enforcement mechanisms have become ineffective and inefficient in a lot of ways. So one program participant described their perspective of the issue this way. It could be so much better if the rules were more strictly enforced. The follow-up on the street is a complete failure. This allows cheap imports to proliferate, scares away honest craftspeople who can't compete, and damages the credibility of a handmade-only program in the eyes of the public who really do want to support artists. So different stakeholders have a different take on this issue, but they're all kind of coming to the same conclusion, or most are coming to the same conclusion. So we know that program staff from interviews are spending upwards of 40% of their time on monitoring and enforcement efforts, but they're not always effective because unlike every other program in the Commission's portfolio, the Commission is not the final arbiter of appeals for the Street Artist Program. That responsibility has been given to the Board of Permit Appeals. Finally, we know that the screening panelists are very diligent and dedicated in the work that they do to screen applicants for the program, but the ordinance limits their ability to really screen for quality. So they're limited to just verifying that applicants are able to make what they intend to sell. And as a consequence, quality varies quite widely. So both of these are examples of one of the issues that kind of cut across all stakeholder interviews. And that is that the program outcomes are not aligned with the agency mandate. So specifically, program resources are increasingly being spent to serve non-artist vendors. So over the last 40 years, the agency has begun to serve two divergent groups through the program: professional artists and vendor entrepreneurs. So some of the key differences between these, some of them are visual. You can kind of see it if you walk into one of the art markets. Professional artists are selling unique goods that can only be found at their display, at their kiosk. vendor entrepreneurs are selling goods that can often be found in stores, so tourist shops or jewelry chains like Claire's. They also often sell goods that violate copyright, Ninja Turtle hats or Giants t-shirts. Another key difference is the price that these two groups can sell their goods at. So professional artists are setting a price based on their labor as well as the materials that they're sourcing to make their work. Because vendor entrepreneurs are often able to buy goods in bulk, already made, they can set a much lower price. So these differences manifest and really change the character of the market. So an example of this is that vendor entrepreneurs often buy in bulk, and so their displays are kind of like laden with merchandise. And because of the way this looks to the public, it kind of cues them to think, oh, this is a flea market, not an art market. So they expect flea market prices and are unwilling to buy high quality art at the requisite price. The result is that it's becoming increasingly difficult for professional artists to make a living through the program. And because of that, the program has steadily begun to lose artists. So there's been more than a 13% drop in annual participation since 2011. So what can the agency do about this? Well, there's a couple of things. One is to improve the quality control mechanisms. By modifying the screening panel process to be more like the public panel model that's used throughout the agency portfolio, notably in the grants program and the public art program. The public panel can really screen artists for quality and consider things like quality of work, originality of work, the overall diversity of market goods in the program. This effort will improve the overall quality of work that's sold through the Street Artist Program. Another thing the agency can do is to implement a contemporary market structure. So currently, there are 3 areas where there's a significant number of selling spaces that are clustered together. Halliday Plaza, Justin Herman Plaza, and Fisherman's Wharf. So what the agency can do is clearly demarcate these areas as open air markets and really designate each area with Arts Commission branded signage that clearly signals to the public these are legitimate art markets where they will find high quality work. They also need to really promote and market these markets by utilizing the values of the contemporary art sector. So this is something that SFMA does really well. I know it's an organization that many people know of and are possibly a part of. They really cater to the tastes of modern day urban shoppers who shop with their political and social interests in mind. So to do this, you really just need to tell the story of this historical program built by artist activists seeking refuge from police harassment. I mean, this is an incredibly relevant narrative right now. You need to point the public to a market where they're going to find one-of-a-kind goods that are never mass-produced, locally made goods that aren't shipped from far away, an activist art program that is quintessentially San Francisco. Oh, one more point, can we go back? Another piece of this is to coordinate with the galleries program, ideally to designate a display, a platform that's specifically for street artists to promote individual street artists. Finally, is to establish capacity building and technical assistance opportunities that really focus on the needs of professional artists. So these could deal with issues, marketing issues like building a website or a social media strategy. They could also be skill building courses like pattern making or color theory or printmaking or any of the infinite other things that artists are interested in learning and improving. This piece can really be coordinated with the other capacity building and technical assistance components of other programs within the agency, like the grants program. So the first step in aligning the program outcomes with the agency's plan for the future is this evaluation report. The next step is to embark on a feasibility study that really identifies the political, legal, administrative, and fiscal implications of each of the recommendations in the report. A part of this analytical stage should really be identifying a process plan and a timeline for implementing each recommendation. Finally, the agency needs to convene program artists. Right now, the Commission has an opportunity to establish an innovative program that promotes the employment of hundreds of artists and supports them in building a sustainable business in San Francisco. In order to begin this transition, the agency should convene program artists, because the artists in this program have